Hello, I'm Bill Bay, and this is You Can Teach Yourself Rock Guitar. In this video, we're going to cover quite a few subjects dealing with playing contemporary rock guitar. We're going to cover blues solos and rock lead solos in 7 primary keys. We're also going to show you how to play rock guitar accompaniment styles, and we're going to lay down the framework and show you the basic blues and rock scale patterns for improvising. Before we go any further, let's tune up. Now, every day when you practice with this video, turn back to this section and tune up so that when you play with the recorded soundtrack, you'll be in tune. Here we go. Okay, this is the first string, high E. Okay, now we go to the second string, B. Third string, G string. Okay, go down to the fourth string, this is D. Fifth string, A. And our low E string. We're now going to learn 6 basic notes, and with these 6 notes, we're going to be able to play a variety of blues solos in the key of E. Okay, let's look at these notes. The first one, and they'll appear on your screen. The first is what we call E1, and that's your open E string. That's E1. Now, if you count up on the second string to the 5th fret, place it with your first finger, that's E2. It's the same pitch, but it has a little different sound because the first one was an open string, and now this you're pressing down a string. That's E2. Now we're going to go to high E, and this is all the way up to the 12th fret, right there. That's high E. Now keep looking at these notes and memorize what they look like. Okay, now the next one is called A. Right here up on the 5th fret, this is A. Now we're going to high A, and this one you really have to count up. Here's your 12, 13, 14, 15. We're going up to the 17th fret here for high A. See, it's an octave higher than the first A. Now here's high A. There you go, up there. Okay, now B, right here, 7th fret. First string. Okay, those are the basic notes. Now we'll be able to play our first rock blues solo. Now we're going to learn a new technique. This is called the slide, and we're going to use the same basic notes that we just learned. Here's how it goes. Now when you play a slide, you'll take a note and you'll play it a little underneath where the note is found. For example, here's E2. To play a slide, you're going to start down here. Or if you're playing this B note that we learned, you might go like that. So that's the slide, and we're going to use this effect in the next solo that we play. This is called Blues Slide Solo. Now we're going to learn a new effect called the hammer-on, and we're going to demonstrate this using the same notes that we've already learned. This is the hammer-on technique. To play a hammer-on on E, for example, our E2, you would play a note 2 frets down, and you'd play that note first, and while it's still ringing, you finger the right note. So it would be, or if you're going to play B, it'd go. So here are the basic hammer-on techniques to the notes. Here's the E2, high E, you go up to the high E's on the 12th fret, so you're going to go down 2, and you go A, high A, and B. Okay, here's our basic blues solo using the hammer-on technique. We're now going to learn another technique. This is the opposite of the hammer-on, and it's called the pull-off. Now what you do with this is you play the correct note first, and then you pull the string off and finger a note lower in pitch. Here's how it goes. Assuming you would play the E note, you would go like that. Or if you play a high E, or A, or if you hit your high A, or even your B. Okay, this is called the pull-off solo. Now we're going to combine the hammer-on and pull-off techniques. This is called the combined effect, and we're going to play a rock solo using both techniques at the same time. Here we go. Now we're going to learn the rock vibrato. This is a technique that's used quite a bit, and there are a lot of different ways to do it. This is something you'll need to experiment with and practice quite a bit and find the technique and the style of vibrato that fits the way you want to play. Here's some basic techniques on the vibrato. A technique that I use quite a bit is to tilt the strings back and forth. In fact, I use this one more than anything. Now you can get into a technique, and you'll see a lot of great players do this, where they rock their hand back and forth like this. And you can, that has a lot of expression to it because you can do it fast and slow. So practice these different types of vibrato, and let's play this next solo. It's a slide solo utilizing the vibrato. Now we're going to learn some basic note values. On your screen, we're going to show you the basic types of notes, and let's talk through it. Now the first note you're looking at is a whole note, and when you see that round hollow note, that's what you've been playing on each of these solos, those get 4 counts. So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a whole note. Now we have the half note, and you've played a couple of these too. Half note is like a whole note with a stem, and those get 2 counts. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, the quarter note. That's a solid note with a stem. You play 1 on each count. Here's the way a quarter note goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighth notes are like quarter notes connected by a stem, and they get half the value of a quarter note. Here are how eighth notes go. Remember, a quarter note would go eighth note. Now we have 16th notes, and you'll see some of these in the solos that are coming up. 16th note goes like this. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are like 16th notes. Those are the basic note values. Now we come to a system of musical shorthand called tablature. With tablature, the lines equal the strings on the guitar, and the numbers will show you where to place the fingers. In other words, the numbers indicate which frets are played. It's a great way to learn how to play solos without getting into a lot of note reading. Here's how tablature works. Now on your screen you're seeing a diagram. The first diagram just shows a basic tablature diagram. Each line is the string. It represents a string. Now the top line is the first string. The bottom line is the sixth string. Now let's go to another diagram. Now in this you'll see your basic tablature frame with different numbers on them. Now you see that first number 1. That would mean that you would play on the second string, first fret. Now if you go to number 4, once again, that's still on the second string. That would mean that that note occurs on the 4th fret. The third note that you're going to see is a 0. That's on the top string. That means you play that string open. Okay, we have a 4 after that. That's on the third string. Count down 1, 2, 3, and that's a 4, so that would be third string, 4th fret. The last number on this diagram is a 3, and that's way down on the 4th string, 3rd fret. And that's how tablature works. We're going to show you one more diagram here. Now this third diagram, you're going to see several notes together. This means that you play them at the same time. You see a 1 on the first string, 1st fret, and you also see a 1 on the second string, 1st fret. Play them both at the same time. Same thing with that other series of notes. You have a 2 on the 5th string and a 0 on the 6th string. That would mean that you'd play both of those simultaneously. That's simple. That's basically how tablature works. We now have one more primary technique to learn, and this is called the bend, and you'll find this used throughout rock and blues music. Here's how you do the bend. Now with the bend, you'll play a note, and then you'll bend it. You'll push it towards the next string, or you can pull it. You can either do either way, but you'll go like this. Or another one. And a lot of times you'll end the bend with a vibrato. Like that. That's how the bend works. We're now ready to learn our first bass line guitar solo. It's called Overdrive. Now before we learn this solo, I want to show you the basic notes that you need to learn to play this piece. Here is low E, open 6th string. And we're showing you on the screen what these notes look like. The next note is low F sharp. That'll be 2nd fret, 6th string. Then you go up 1 fret on the 6th string to the 3rd fret, that's G. We're going right up the scale here. 5th string open is A. 5th string, 2nd fret is B. And the last note we need to know to play this first solo called Overdrive is C, and that is 5th string, 3rd fret. Let's give it a try. Now, as you learn these solos, you will see that each solo is broken down into at least 2 or sometimes 3 licks or patterns. The patterns repeat themselves in various spots during the solo. Now, here's how we play key of E solo number 1. This is lick number 1. You see that used a bend and vibrato. Then we repeat it. We do it again. Now we go to lick 2. Lick 2 starts with a slide. Another slide, then you do another slide, and then a hammer on. Let's do number 2 again. Here we go. That's all you need to know to play key of E solo number 1. Now we have key of E solo number 2. Here are the 2 phrases that we need to learn to play this piece. Okay, we start with lick number 1. And that's on the 7th fret. Let's try it again. We repeat it. Now we go to lick 2, up here on the 11th fret. Go way up to the 16th, then down to the 15th, and we end on the 12th. Key of E solo number 2. Here is key of E solo number 3, and it utilizes the triplet rhythm, and 3 different licks or phrases. Here's how it goes. Now the triplet rhythm is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And we start on beat 2 of a triplet rhythm, so here's lick 1. It goes. You play it 4 times. Same rhythm on lick 2, only you start on the 5th string. Again, back to lick 1. Now lick 3, you slide up to the 4th fret, 3rd string, then back to lick 1. Key of E solo number 3. You're now ready to begin playing rhythm guitar. And before we do this, let's look at a guide to chord diagrams. Now on your screen you'll see a diagram of an E major chord diagram. It looks like a grid. Now the lines that go up and down, the vertical lines, represent the strings. And on your screen to the right, the line on the right is the E, our first string. On the left-hand side of your screen will be the low E string. Now the numbers to the left are fret numbers. You'll see frets number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now as we look above the grid, you'll see some small zeros. Those little circles indicate that a string is played open. You do not finger that string. Now the black circles with the numbers inside of them show you which fingers to play. So for the E chord, you would play second finger on the second fret, 5th string. You would play third finger on the second fret, 4th string, and your first finger would be 1st fret, 3rd string. That's how you read chord diagrams. Now let's take a look at the chords needed to play rhythm guitar in the key of E. Our first chord is E major, and this we already showed on the diagram. It's open, second finger, third finger, first finger. That's E major. Now to play E 7th, we're going to go open, 2, open again, 1, and get your little finger or your third finger and get this 3rd fret. That's E 7th. Now we're going to learn a bar chord, A major chord. And this one will take some practice, but you will use this chord form repeatedly. Put your first finger on the 5th fret, bottom string, third finger up on the 7th, your little finger there up on the 7th, your second finger gets that 6th fret there, and then you're going to bar with your first finger these top 2 strings. So your first finger is actually playing 3 strings. It's laying across all 6, but you're playing the 5th, the 1st, and the 2nd. And that's called a movable form because you'll see you'll be able to play different chords. A chord is here. Move it down here, it's G. But anyway, that's our A chord. Now B7, we're going to take this form that we just played, we're going to move it up here to the 7th fret, but you're going to lift your little finger. That's the only change. You lift your little finger, so now your first finger is playing 4 different notes. That's B7. We slide it down 1 fret, and it's B flat. Then we go down to A, and once again, we still are playing this 7th form. Our little finger is not playing a note. And then down to G, 3rd fret. So that progression will go. And then it leads back to our E major. Now let me show you the rhythm that we're going to play on this particular study. We're going to go. It's 2/8 followed by a dotted 8th and a 16th. So it's. And you can hear it more clearly with a closed chord form. For example. Okay, let's try E chord study number 1. Now in the companion book to this video, we show you quite a few chords in different chord forms that all will work in playing the basic studies just like the one we just played. Power chords are used quite a bit in rock and blues music, and they're called power chord because they usually involve what's called the root in the fifth and then the top root again of the chord. It's a very primary basic sound, but it can sound very powerful when used in certain types of rhythm patterns. Just to give you an example, let me show you some power chord forms that we could use to play the example we just played. Here they are. Now remember, we played the E chord, but here's an E power chord form. You go up to the 7th fret and you play first finger there on that 7th fret, and then you play 3 and 4, and you're just going to play these bottom 4 strings. Play a 7th form, you would bar these strings and you put your 3rd finger. You can play an A power chord form here on the 7th fret also. And this one you have to be a little careful with. You're going to bar these 2 strings here on the 7th fret, 3rd finger there, and 4th. Just like that. And then on the 7th chords, B 7th is on the 7th fret, 1, 3, 1, just those 3 strings. Then B flat, A. You don't want to hit that other note like I just did there. Just those 3. And then G. And then you can go back here to your E power chord form. Remember, it's on the 7th fret. We now come to the blues rhythm shuffle, and you will recognize this the minute you hear it. It's one of the most popular and frequently used rhythm patterns found in rock and blues guitar. I'm going to break it up into 3 different parts so that we can learn the different fingerings involved. Here's part 1. Now in part 1 of the blues rhythm shuffle, you play your open 6th string, 1st finger here on the 5th fret, on the, 5th string, 2nd fret, and you're going to also grab this 4th fret. So you're going to go. That's part 1. Now let's go to part 2. Part 2 is exactly the same, but you just move 1 string over. So you're going to play open A string, and then you're going to play this 2nd fret on the 4th. So you're going to go. Then you go back to the part 1. Now part 3 is the tough one. You're going to grab your 2nd fret, 5th string, and you're going to grab the 4th fret. And then you're going to come up here and grab this 6th, so it's going to be, it takes a stretch. You may want to do your 1st and 2nd fingers like that. It depends on what feels easiest. Then you go to the part 2, then back to part 1. Let's try putting it all together. One of the great things about playing rock or blues guitar is making up or improvising your own solos. And this isn't as hard as it sounds. There are basic scale forms that you can learn, and when you play these forms, your blues solo will just build itself around the notes in that scale form. Now for the key of E, I'm going to show you 4 different forms, and what I want you to do is to learn these going up and coming down, try adding notes and playing what I call notes in between the scale notes, and then try playing these different scale forms with the pieces that we've already learned. Make up your own solo. And when you aren't sure what note to play, go back to one of these scale tones and you'll find that it works. Here is key of E, blues solo pattern number 1. Here's pattern number 1. Open, 3, open, 2, open, 2, open, 2, open again, 3, open, and then 3. Pattern number 2 moves up here to the 3rd fret. You're going to start with your 2nd finger. 2, 4, then you go to 1, 4, 1, 4, back to 1, 3, and you finish out with a 2, 4, and another 2, 4. Pattern number 3 moves up here to 7th fret. And you see how these different patterns you're going to be able to play a solo in any key anywhere on the neck. Okay, here's pattern number 3. 1, 4, 1, 4, 1 again, 3, 1, 3, now go to 2, 4, 1, 4. Now pattern number 4 is really an identical repeat of pattern number 1, but you're going to use all closed strings because you're up here on the 12th fret. So here's pattern number 4. It's 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3 again, go back to 1, 4, and you're going to finish with a 1, 4. Now most of the solos that you've already played and that you will play in this book are based on those type of patterns. Try experimenting with them with the different songs we've already played. We're now in the key of G. That's 1 sharp, key of G. And we're going to learn our first solo entitled 16 Gs. Here are the notes you need to play this solo. We start with low G. You play that with your first finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret. Low G. Okay, we go to B flat. It's played with the little finger on the 6th string, 6th fret. C, grab it with your first finger here on the 5th string, 3rd fret. D is 3rd finger, 5th string, 5th fret. F, 4th string, 3rd fret, and we'll play it with the first finger. E flat, you go back to the 5th string, 6th fret, and we'll grab it with the little finger. G, 4th string, 5th fret, and that's played with your 3rd finger here. Last note we need to learn, B flat, and that's 3rd fret on the 3rd string, and we'll grab it with the first finger. Now those are the notes you need to play the solo in the key of G called 16 Gs. Here is key of G solo number 1. Now this uses 3 different phrases. Here's how they go. Lick or phrase number 1. You start with your first finger on the 3rd fret, then go over here. Lick 2. It's up here on the 3rd finger on the 5th fret, 3rd string. Then you go back to 1. Lick number 3. Or you can push it the other way. Then back to 1. Key of G solo number 1. Here is key of G solo number 2. This is one of my favorite solos in the book. It uses 3 different licks or phrases. Here's how it goes. Here's pattern number 1. Start with your first finger on the 2nd string, 8th fret. That's number 1. Lick number 2. Once again, you slide into that 8th fret. Then you go back to 1. Then pattern number 3. Then you end on 1. Let's give it a try. Here is key of G solo number 3. Now this one is played in the higher registers on the instrument, way high up on the neck. It uses 3 different melodic phrases or licks. Here's how it goes. Lick number 1 starts on the 15th fret. It goes. That was pattern number 1. Pattern number 2. Pattern number 3. Let's play it. We're now ready to play rhythm accompaniment in the key of G. Here are the chords you need to know. Key of G chord, basic 1. It's a bar chord, just like you played on the A chord. You're going to bar all 6 strings, essentially, with that first finger, 3rd fret. It's 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1. Then to go to G 7th, just lift that little finger. Then we go up, C chord up here. It's just like that G chord you played, but it's on the 8th fret. Now D7 is this chord 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, up on the 10th fret. D flat, same chord, slide it down, C, B flat, then we go to the G chord. And the rhythm will be like that. Here we go, G chord study number 1. Here are 3 basic improvising patterns, or scales, for the key of G. Okay, here's pattern number 1. Start with the first finger on the 3rd fret. 1, 4, 1, 3. Again. One more time, 1, 3. Now you're going to end with 2 1 4s. Pattern number 2, we go to the 6th fret and we go 2 4. 1 4. Again. Now you're going to do 1 3. We end with 2 2 4s. Pattern number 3, go all the way up to the 10th fret and you start with a 1 4. Another one, 1 3, another one, 2 4, and end with a 1 4. Those are the 3 blues scales, or patterns, key of G. Now we're in the key of D. And before we play our first bass line solo called Drive in D, let me show you the notes that we need to learn in order to play. First note will be D, but we're going to play it here on the 5th fret, 5th string. A is open, 5th string. C, first finger on that 3rd fret, 5th string. Then F, is first finger on that 3rd fret, 4th string. G, we're going to go up here to the 5th fret on the 4th string. And then A is this 2nd fret here on the 3rd string. And that's it. Drive in D. Here is key of D solo number 1. This uses 3 licks or melodic phrases. Here's how they go. Here is lick number 1. Lick number 2. Lick number 3. We're on key of D solo number 2. This has 3 licks or phrases. Here's how they go. Key of D, solo number 2. Here's lick number 1. You start on the 5th fret of the 5th string. Lick number 2. Lick number 3. Key of D solo number 3. We have the 3 basic melodic phrases. Here's how they go. Lick number 1. Lick number 2. And go up to the 15th. Now, for lick 3, start on the 17th. Then go to the 15th. And then we end it on the 10th. Now we'll play some rhythm guitar key of D. Here are the basic key of D chords. Okay, the first chord is this major form that we've been learning. We start on the 10th fret. 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1. That's your D chord. Now to make D 7th, you lift that little finger. G chord, it's the same as the D chord, but it's down here on the 3rd fret. 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1. Now A7 chord. 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1. Same thing, down a fret is A flat. Down another fret is G. Then we go all the way down here to the 1st fret for F, and then we end on the D chord again. Now the rhythm is going to be 3, 4, 3, 4. Let's give it a try. Here is another chord study in the key of D, and this one uses some power chords, and we're going to pick the notes one note at a time. Here's how it goes. We grab a D power chord, first finger here on the 10th fret, and then 3 and 4, and we're going to go. Then we're going to slide it down to a C power chord, and back to D. We're going to keep doing that alternate pattern. Let's play it. This is D chord study number 2. Now let's try the improvising scales, or blues scales, in the key of D. I'm going to show you 3 different ones. Here's the first one. First finger, the 1st fret, 3. Now we go open, 3, open again, 3, open, 2, and you're going to end with 1, 3, and then 1, 3 again. That's pattern number 1. Here's pattern number 2. Go to the 5th fret, 1st finger, 1, 4. Again, 1, 4. Now you're going to do 2 1 3s. Two 4, and end with a 1 4. Pattern number 3. Go to the 10th fret, 1 4. Now we're going to do 1 3 3 times. 1 4, and end with a 1 4. Those are the 3 patterns. We're now in the key of A, and we're going to play our bass line solo. It's called Do It. Here are the notes you need to know. We start with open A,